Hi, I'm Annie, and I'm feeling okay. Today I want to talk about INFJ rigidness, or IJ rigidness. I'm an INFJ, and like many IJs, I can tend to be rigid, and I've got it pretty bad. I'm a pretty rigid person. Compared to other people, sometimes I can get really uptight about the rules, about procedures, about my day being structured in a certain way. And I'll give you an example of something that happened a couple weeks ago. It was early evening traffic, a lot of people going home from work, pretty chaotic out there on the streets. And I was at a four-way stop, and there was a cop, and he had the right of way, and he turned, and he didn't use his turn signal. And it made me so mad. It made me so mad that I was having fantasies about calling the police and saying, "Hi, I'd like to report a crime." Because it is a crime to not use your turn signal. And you're probably going to think I'm making a joke, but I take this very, very seriously. You can tell that I'm serious right now. I'm not joking about this. You should use your turn signal. Why? Because it's free and it can save you hundreds of dollars. It can save lives. When I tell different people this story about the cop not using his turn signal, a lot of people say, "Oh, I know, it's just not fair that cops can do whatever they want, but if they see you not using your turn signal, you better bet they're going to give you a ticket. It's just not fair." That's not why it upsets me. I don't care if a cop misuses his or her authority. If they hold citizens to a different standard than they hold themselves, they break the rules all the time without consequence, but they give tickets to citizens who break the rules. I don't care about that at all. What I care about is that a police officer is a servant of public safety, and they should do every single thing that they can think of to be safe and to set an example of safeness. If they go around not using their turn signals, then they're sending a signal to the world that it is okay and acceptable to not use your turn signal, and it's not. Why wouldn't you? I mean, it's free, and it saves a lot of chaos. There's chaos and bullshit everywhere, and we need to avoid as much of it as we can. So you have one person not using their turn signal just this one time, but it's not just this one time. You take that one person not using their turn signal just this one time and you multiply that by 7 billion people. It's too much chaos. Just use your turn signal. Why wouldn't you? Okay, please. So you can see how worked up I get about this. When I talk to people about this, they think I'm really uptight. And I guess that's true. But why not do things efficiently? Why not avoid chaos when there's so much chaos in the world? If you can do things in an organized, efficient, safe manner, and it avoids bullshit and chaos, why wouldn't you? It's actually easier in the long run to do things correctly than to not do things correctly. Yeah, I'm sounding really uptight. I realize that this is how it sounds to people. And I have other rigidnesses that don't really affect other people. It's just the way that I conduct my life. I like routine. I like to get up and exercise every morning. I tend to drive the same route to work and to other places all the time. And, maybe that makes me boring, but it also makes me feel safe and like I have some control. And while I can be over controlling sometimes when it comes to certain things like the law, like using your turn signals, I don't care if I come off as uptight because it's the law. It was created for a reason. Traffic laws are not something that you should loosely interpret. They have been created for a reason. People thought long and hard about this before they made these rules. They're not just stupid, frivolous rules. They're rules that are put in place to keep us safe and to keep the flow of traffic organized and less chaotic. I mean, that's a good thing, don't you think? If there's less fender benders and less people are injured or dying, is that a bad thing? I mean, why wouldn't you follow the rules? And there's a few other things like that that just really get to me. One of them is off-leash dogs. I'm a runner. I always follow the law and have my dog on a leash, but it causes a lot of problems for me when other people have their dogs off-leash and I'm trying to run, and then we have these dogs just, running up to my dog and trying to play when we're trying to run. All dogs are different. My dog isn't vicious, but he is a little defensive. If a dog just runs up to him, he's going to feel a little bit threatened by that. There's an unequal power dynamic if he is on a leash and this other dog is free and just, bounding up to him. That's a little intimidating for him. He's not an alpha. He's just a little bit more insecure and neurotic, kind of like me. And so he can tend to be a little defensive and it can come out ugly. Just like me when I try to assert myself, when I take the Big Five test, my assertiveness is exceptionally low. I got 1% assertiveness. And I have learned some coping strategies to learn how to gracefully assert myself. And over time, being a 42-year-old adult, I have learned some ways to assert myself, but it's never super graceful. It's either completely pre-formulated, like for example, in my business, I have a lot of copy and paste responses to stupid, unreasonable questions that some clients ask me. There are certain ways that people have tried to steamroll me or take advantage of me in my business, and I haven't in that moment had a reasonable professional response. And so I've just been kind of meek and rolled over. Like for example, if someone stands me up, I'm just a little meek about it. So what I have done in my business is created a pre-formulated response, putting certain technological measures in place, like requiring credit cards and having people sign a waiver that says, if you don't show up and you don't give me any warning or any phone call, then I will charge you because I have your card on file. I will charge you for the missing time. Stuff like that. I have to use technology and use emails. But if somebody asks me an unreasonable question face to face and kind of puts me on the spot, like, hey, I know you charge whatever per hour, but could you give me an 85% discount? Then kind of in the moment, I don't deal with it very well. And so I've learned to protect myself by having a lot of pre-formulated responses so that I can say with confidence, I charge this much per hour and here's my cancellation fee. It's kind of practiced. And so I'm used to saying it and I can say it in a mature, professional way. On the other hand, sometimes when situations arrive in the moment and I need to assert myself, I either can be kind of meek and let people just steamroll me and take advantage of me, or I can snap. That happens sometimes. It's really mainly only with the dog leash issue because I go out in the mornings anywhere from 5 to 8 a.m. to go for a morning run. And it's a pretty common nuisance that people at my local park are breaking the law and they don't have their dogs leashed. And it's just annoying because I'm using the park for its intended purpose and I'm following the laws and I'm just trying to get some running, trying to get some daily exercise and some relaxation going for my mental and physical health. And it feels incredibly unfair to me that someone can just spoil that by breaking the law. And so in that situation, a lot of times I snap. But it's happened so many times that the response is usually formulaic. And sometimes I tone down the cussing and I just stick to the facts. I say, you need to leash your dog. You're breaking the law. You're a bad neighbor. I promise you that pisses people off. That's the fact. It does piss people off. This is a really contentious issue. It pisses off a lot of people when that happens. It happens a lot around here in my town. And then the other group of people, it pisses them off if you ask them to leash their dogs because they say, hey, lighten up. You're being ridiculous. This is not this important. So that's one kind of response that I have to it. The other response that I have is when I just really snap, when, I've been pushed too far too many times in that week. And this is highly out of character for me to ever assert myself. Because I have 1% assertiveness, when it does come out, it can be very, very ugly. Anytime I manage to assert myself, it's just not graceful. It's not natural. So another response that I have is, leash your fucking dog, you fucking asshat. You're breaking the law. You're a bad neighbor. You're pissing people off. So that's a little bit less graceful. The other day that happened, there was a lady, she had 2 dogs off leash and we're going around this mile track and she's going this way and I'm going this way and I could see her on the other side of the track and I just said, hey, leash your fucking dogs. And I feel totally fine about that. I don't need to be friendly to this person that is breaking the law. And if she feels offended or even a little bit afraid of me, like I'm crazy, like I'm a loose cannon and I'm gonna shank her or something, which I'm not, then, she feels uncomfortable. By the time I got back around, she was gone. She left the park. If I made her feel uncomfortable and she left the park, that's fine. That is a better outcome than me leaving the park because she won't leash her dog. Because you see, that's what I would have to do. She would force me out of my daily run because I just can't deal with her off-leash dogs while I'm trying to have my dog on a leash. It just doesn't work. This all might sound really harsh. I mean, you might think that I am a colossal bitch. But you know what's funny? I actually own the domain colossalbitch.com just for this reason. Now, I'm not a bad person. I care about people, but it's just that when I get pushed this far and I have this inability to assert myself gracefully, I can snap. It's really only in this one area, though. I can't think of other areas where I'm super bitchy like that. But, use your turn signal and leash your dog. It's the law. Just follow the law. And just be aware that if you are breaking a law, you are pissing somebody off because there's a reason for the law. It's just rude. And I don't follow laws blindly. There are certain laws that I think are stupid and I would not comply. For example, if there was a draft, if for some reason 42-year-old grumpy 5-foot-tall ladies were drafted into a war, I would absolutely dissent. I would not go to war. That's a law that I wouldn't follow. I can't think of any other ones that are super, super unreasonable. Most laws I tend to agree with because they've been created for a reason, and especially traffic laws. I mean, come on, why not? Why not just follow the rules of safety? So anyway, if you haven't noticed, I have quite a lot of IJ rigidness, and maybe you do too. I think that I'm dealing with it okay for the most part because, as I mentioned, in my professional life, I really do try to have these, loaded responses that are really well thought out and diplomatic so that I can deal with situations and assert myself when I need to. And then there are other areas where I snap, like with the dog leashing thing, but as I also mentioned, I feel totally okay with it. I think that is what that person has coming. If their dog is off the leash, then it's going to make people angry and somebody might yell at them. They're just going to have to live with it. That's the consequence of breaking that particular law. So anyway, this has been a really cheerful conversation. Let me know what you think. Love it, hate it, whatever, and have a good day.